Choice point, hooks and helpers. Hi everyone. In this video we will discuss the choice point concept and consider several examples to help you start implementing this helpful technique in your own life. Choice point was initially developed by Ann Bailey, Joseph Chiarachi, and Russ Harris for their book The Weight Escape: How to Stop Dieting and Start Living. The choice point is a valuable tool designed to help people navigate the challenges life presents to us and help them make decisions that support their building a rich and meaningful life. Later on, we'll talk more about how this process works and some of the skills you can use to practice this technique in your own life. For now, let's consider the following example. In this apartment lives a dog, and like us, all day long this dog is reacting to its environment and choosing different behaviors to engage in, such as going outside to run around, getting a drink of water, visiting with people in the house, or just taking a nap. While all of these behaviors help this pup to build a happy and fulfilling dog life, there are also behaviors the dog sometimes chooses that aren't as helpful to its long-term well-being. Consider one day our friend is lying on the floor thinking dog thoughts and suddenly realizes someone left out a plate of donuts. Looking around, the dog realizes no one is there to notice if they sneak one from off the table. Suddenly, the dog becomes very anxious and wonders what to do in this situation. On the one hand, they know they're not supposed to eat off the table, especially not sugary foods, and on the other hand, they feel a very strong urge to try this enticing snack. Let's look at how using the choice point can help our friend to better navigate this difficult situation. According to the choice point model, when we engage in behaviors, the things we do throughout the day, that help us to become the people we want to be and to live the kind of meaningful lives we hope to have, these are called towards moves. Now over here, when we choose to do the things that are not consistent with the values we hold or don't align with the kind of person we want to be, we call these away moves. Sometimes life gives us challenging situations that bring about difficult thoughts and feelings, and at these times, many of us find ourselves making more away moves. For this dog, a challenging situation has presented itself, whereby he has the urge to do something he knows isn't healthy and that will likely hurt his important relationship with his favorite humans. The dog begins to struggle and wrestle, or feel hooked by, if you will, the thoughts and feelings they're having in this situation. The dog may become hooked by rationalizing thoughts like, "I've worked hard today and deserve this," or self-defeating thoughts about their ability to abstain, such as, "I can't handle this, it's too hard for me, I should just get it over with." They might get hooked by the feelings that are emerging, like having the craving to eat the donut, or feeling anxious cues to move a little closer to them. And finally, as we mentioned, situations hook us by presenting challenging circumstances and prompting these thoughts and feelings that we find ourselves struggling with. As we spend more time and resources entangled in a battle with these hooks, we are far less likely to engage in meaningful behaviors that help us build the kind of life we want to live. Let's go through the choice point model together and see how this tool can be used to think about the upcoming decision to be made. Here life has presented a challenging situation, and over here we consider the various behaviors that lead the dog away from their values and their long-term well-being. These include staring at the food, moving closer to the food, and of course eating the food. Now down here are some of the hooks we described that, as the dog struggles against them, make it harder for them to choose towards moves. Up here are the towards moves in this scenario, which include practicing sit, getting some water, or going outside for exercise. Each of these behaviors helps the dog to adhere to their important values of being healthy and being loyal to their humans. This is where helpers come in. The following helpers do exactly that and help the dog to unhook from their difficult thoughts and feelings and to be more able to choose towards moves. Let's look at these in more detail. When we say values in the context of these helpers, we mean something that guides us toward behaviors that reflect our truest sense of ourselves and how we want to act. Values, unlike goals, are persistent and not something we ever finish. For example, a goal might be to help a friend move into their new place this weekend, whereas a corresponding value, something that we never stop pursuing, could be something like being a supportive friend. Our friend the dog values things like exploration, loyalty, and trustworthiness, and being healthy, represented here by the healthy food in their bowl. Being able to consider important values when determining a course of action is very helpful in working to unhook ourselves from our distressing thoughts and feelings, as we'll discuss more a little later on. The next set of helpers after values are our unhooking skills. These include diffusion and self as context, which both help us to notice and observe our thoughts instead of acting as if we were our thoughts. Acceptance and self-compassion, and finally, contact with the present moment. A mindfulness technique where we non-judgmentally notice and observe the thoughts and feelings we are having that normally hook us into some kind of a struggle. At the end of this video, You'll find links to helpful resources that explain all of these concepts in more detail. Getting back to our first example, in order for the dog to better choose a towards move, we might recommend that he observe his thoughts and feelings, giving them a space to exist without struggling against them. With the energy they regain from dropping the struggle, they are more freely able to engage in a towards move. Let's look at another example. Imagine someone who reports experiencing severe social anxiety and that they've been isolating a great deal recently. This person notices their mood has been declining as they spend considerably less time than usual meeting with friends and loved ones. Suddenly, they realize there is an important get-together tonight, being thrown by a friend, and that they have previously committed to going. Their heart rate accelerates, and their thoughts are saying things like, "I'm so awkward at these things. Everyone is going to think I'm weird. I never fit in." Let's pause for a second. Before we label not going to a party as an away move, let's consider the word workability. If staying home from this event was a values-congruent behavior that helped build a rich and meaningful life for this person, we would say that it is a workable behavior, and therefore not something to be targeted by the choice point model. However, in this case, the person values commitment, relationships with others, and a sense of belonging. So as we consider this relevant context that they have been isolated much more than usual, the staying home and further isolating behavior is not seen as very workable and therefore is looked at as values incongruent or an away move. Let's practice using the choice point map to navigate this decision. We see this person has been presented with a situation to attend a group get-together. They begin to notice themselves getting hooked by their thoughts like, "Everyone will think I'm a loser," or "I'm so bad at talking to people at these kinds of events," and their feelings of being more anxious than before they remembered the get-together was tonight. When they begin struggling with these distressing internal experiences, they tend to notice themselves making more away moves, like withdrawing from others. In this case, doing so by staying home. When we ask this person what kinds of towards moves would they like to make that would help them build a meaningful and fulfilling life, they respond, "Attend the gathering and make an effort to engage in conversation while I'm there." Finally, down here we can note some of the values, unhooking skills, and personal strengths that will help this person to unhook from their struggle with the present situation, thoughts, and feelings as they work to make more towards moves. For this person, their values such as belonging and commitment align with attending the social engagement. By using unhooking skills, they can begin to notice some of the uncomfortable internal experiences, such as distressing thoughts and physiological arousal cues, and rather than attempt to control them or make them go away, which we know typically leads to more struggle and away moves, they practice mindfully observing them, creating a sense of distance, or diffusion as we call it, from their thoughts, where they no longer feel as if they are their thoughts, and therefore are less likely to be rigidly controlled or dominated by attempts to deal with their thoughts. Other strengths that can help this person to make towards moves in this situation might include a wide variety of traits or knowledge, such as being a good listener or having learned an interesting news story that will help them to strike up conversations. Okay, let's go through one last example together so that we feel even more prepared to start implementing this useful technique in our own lives. Let's consider someone who experiences chronic pain and is having difficulty completing their physical therapy exercises on a regular basis, which will eventually lead to much worse pain and physical functioning in the long term. They are hooked by thoughts like, "What's the use? I'm always going to be in pain," and feelings of sadness and fatigue. Expending energy to avoid the situation by attempting to control or reduce their distressing thoughts or feelings of sadness, as we know, leads to greater struggle and choosing away moves. In this instance, an away move might be sleeping through the day to avoid these experiences altogether. As this person explores what a rich and meaningful life looks like to them, they think about wanting to preserve as much of their mobility as possible and modeling healthy choices to their grandchildren. With this in mind, they determine that completing their physical therapy exercises is an important towards move to help them build the type of life that they personally believe is worth living. In order to be able to choose the towards behavior, we know it is important to use our helpers to unhook from our struggle, trying to avoid or eliminate uncomfortable internal experiences. Some of our helpers include taking a moment to observe our thoughts and feelings without judgment, simply noticing them as they are and creating a sense that we are observing these thoughts and feelings instead of reacting to them as if we are them. This person can also revisit their values, like making healthy choices, when arriving at this frequently experienced choice point to help guide themselves in the direction of making a towards move. Now that you've gone through several examples about how to work through the choice point, identify your hooks, and utilize your helpers to unhook and pursue towards moves, I will leave you with something that makes this skill easy to implement for yourself. It's called the stop skill, and each letter helps us to choose towards moves when confronted with difficult choice points. The first letter, S, tells us to slow down and take a couple of deep, mindful breaths. T stands for take notice of our thoughts and feelings. Ask yourself what you observe. O is for open up, where you open yourself to experience these uncomfortable thoughts and feelings without judgment. And finally, P stands for pursue values, where you select behaviors at this choice point that are aligned with your values and that help you to build a rich and meaningful life. Thank you for watching this video on Choice Point, created by Ann Bailey, Joseph Karachi, and Russ Harris. I hope you're able to use what you've learned about this concept to help you make more towards moves in your own life. The following links provide further information about this topic and more from the creators of the Choice Point.